Stories of Survival. The Battle of Stalingrad, 1942, World War II by Kaimani Brown. Chapter 2. As I got in my house, I hung my backpack and coat and sat at the dining table. Papa was cooking lunch. "Hey, Tom, cack dealer." He asked how was I doing. I said nothing because of the regret and sadness I was feeling. "Tom, I heard you're speaking English more fluently now," Papa said to me again. I remained silent and just awaited my lunch. Papa walked toward me and sighed. "The war messed you up, huh?" "Yeah," I finally opened my mouth. Papa sighed again and said, "The war messed me up too. I lost my friend due to a recent Nazi invasion, just last year," he announced, looking down. Then, he told a story about a battle he'd fought in recently last year, and how this current war messed him up too. It was October 2nd, 1941, just last year, Nazi Germany invaded Moscow. Me and my troops marched there, well prepared with our heavy weaponry, tanks, armored vehicles, and airplanes, he began. But before we knew, we were face to face with heavily armed Nazi troops, along with some Panzer tanks, armored vehicles, and fast-firing machine guns, Papa explained. Now about the tank I had just mentioned, a Panzer is the last thing you'd want to see rumbling through the streets. Panzer tanks can just blow things up, like an entire house. But that's not the only terrifying thing me and my troops came across, Papa said. "What was it?" I asked him. "We heard a yowling sound as we fought off the Nazis. We looked in the sky to see dive bombers called Junkers Ju-87, Stukas, closing in on us fast," Papa responded. Stukas are the most feared aircrafts of Germany, and it's all because of their sickening, deafening siren. It sounds like a distressed cat. The aforementioned plane is from the Luftwaffe, or the German Air Force.
As we heard it, me and my troops frantically scattered around, diving to the ground and covering our heads. And then, kaboom. Multiple explosions blew around us. I was really getting shaken up by this story. These pieces of German weaponry are something you should never come across. After the bombing attack was over, the gunfight was still ongoing. I went to look for my best friend, Ricky Splenick. But nothing prepared me for what I saw next. Butterflies fluttered in my stomach in nervousness as Papa went on. "You could honestly figure what happened to his friend out on your own." I demanded Papa to tell what happened to his friend, Ricky, even though he told me it was too intense. But I needed to know. After begging him a few times, he sighed and finally spilled the beans. I saw Ricky, in a broken heap inside a blown crater. He laid there, motionless. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't. Ricky was gone. Pa finally finished his gut-wrenching story. "So, yeah, the war messed me up too," he said. "I soon left the Red Army after that." That story had me shaking, and my stomach bubbling in sheer worry. "I'm sorry this happened to you. Nazis are really bad guys," I said to Papa. "Yes, they are," Papa responded. "After 7 months of battle the Nazis lost, and millions of lives were lost," he said. Darn, I thought. Papa must have had a horrific journey in Moscow. Now, about Ricky, me and him became quick friends just as I joined the army, just before Germany invaded. He was another sergeant in our regiment, like me. He'd help me watch over the troops, help me scrub the barracks, and we pretty much had each other's backs. Papa told a short story of him and his friend, Ricky's friendship. After that story, Mama came in and gave Papa a look. "Harin, are telling Tom scary stories again?" she asked. "Papa has been telling me stories since I was 5, well, not scary ones. Mama wasn't all that used to it." No, Papa stuttered. "Whatever. Just make sure he doesn't have nightmares tonight," said Mama, setting up our lunch and placing it on the table. Hitler and his killer soldiers were really greedy, and bad people. They would just want to conquer every country they could. But an invasion here in the Soviet Union? Heck no. The Soviet Union, or the USSR, or whatever you call it, was one of the most largest countries in the world. It would be nearly impossible to be conquered. Chapter 3. I couldn't sleep. Horrific and gruesome thoughts flashed in my mind. Bloodied soldiers, tanks blowing things up, crumbled bodies, shouting soldiers. I tried to think of something else, But the story on Papa's terrifying conquest in Moscow kept on battling it. Maybe Papa was right. The story about the Battle of Moscow was a little too intense. Unable to handle it, I cried for my parents. Upon hearing my cries, Papa burst into the room. "Tom, you all right?" he asked. "The story, Papa. It must be getting to me. I'm having bad dreams about it," I responded, tearfully. Papa sighed and hugged me. Then, he said, "Tom, never, ever let bad dreams or thoughts ruin your sleep. Never." He rocked me and comforted me like I was a baby. Then, Mama was seen in the doorway. "You see, Harin," she said to Papa, irritated. "I thought we already discussed this." "Natalie, please," Papa said back to her. After he was done comforting me, he placed me gently back in my bed. "Now, good night. Don't let the Nazis bite," Papa said, parodying the "don't let the bedbugs bite" part.